When we first started doing this at the Egyptian Theater, whatever it was, 23 years ago, and in one of those very first shows, which were incredibly well received, and we had big audiences, and it was so much fun. And this man came out of the audience, I'd never seen him before, and walked up to me, and he had this incredible twinkle in his eye, and this grin on his face, and this wild white hair, and a photojournalist vest. And he said, "You know, you have got something here. You've got something here." And that man was the first person to convince me to think big about what we were doing with these festivals. And his name is Yoram Kahana. And unfortunately, Yoram passed away last year. And Yoram became, over time, the biggest champion of the Film Noir Foundation that we had. And over the years, he was always there. And at first, it was just as a fan. He would come to see the movies and talk to me and tell me how great it was. Yeah. And then later on, I learned that Yoram was a world-class photographer, that he was a member of the Hollywood Foreign Press Association. And it was through Yoram's championing of the foundation that the Hollywood Foreign Press really got behind what the Film Noir Foundation did and started giving us grants for our work. The Golden Globe Awards, say what you will about the Golden Globes, but the money raised by that production on television then was given to charitable organizations to further their work, whether they were filmmakers, student filmmakers, nonprofit organizations, the Film Foundation, or thank goodness, the Film Noir Foundation. And I can tell you unequivocally, Yoram Kahana, I'm sure there were people at the HFPA that didn't want to hear it after a while, but Yoram was a champion like no other.
Yoram had no filter whatsoever when he believed in something, and he believed in us.
Which is what made him a delight. He told you exactly what he thought, and he was a very, very brilliant artist in his own right. And the fact that he took all this time and dedicated all this effort to our organization to see to it that the Hollywood Foreign Press treated us with the same degree of respect that they treated the Film Foundation was vital to our success. Absolutely vital to our success. And he was a really fun guy as well.
I on a personal note, and I echo everything Eddie said, and at this point I'd like to recognize Yoram's widow Peggy is here with us tonight, his daughter and two of his grandkids, and please give them a round of applause. Yoram was, as Eddie mentioned, Israeli. He met Peggy in the early 60s when he was at UCLA. He was a photog with the LA Free Press. Yoram was a man of the world. Eddie mentioned the reporter's vest. He always had the wrinkled khaki clothes. He always looked like he was on assignment for United Press International.
He was in the Los Angeles war zone. That's what he was like.
But he spoke 5 languages. He went to over 100 countries, and he had stories. Yoram would call me up, and Yoram had this kind of gruff voice exterior, but inside of him, he had the heart of a lion. And I would pick up the phone, "Alan, it is Yoram." And I'd say, "Yoram, I had no idea. What's up?" And then he would say, "Can you get so-and-so celebrity for me to do this thing at the HFPA or something like that?" And off we would go. And he had so many great stories. When he was in Israel for a time, he was a driver for Edward G. Robinson. And he's telling me about Edward G. Robinson. At some point, they went for a walk on the beach, and Edward G. Robinson is walking like this. And he goes, "Look at that." And he bends down, picks it up, and it's a scarab, like a piece of ancient jewelry. And he holds it up to Yoram and he says, "Look at this, look what I found." And Yoram said, "You put that there." And Robinson said, "You're right, I tried." And when Yoram passed, I went where his family was sitting Shiva, and Yoram has the most wonderful family. You knew where the love came from. Stories of sitting with one of his granddaughters, breaking down and watching Lawrence of Arabia together. I mean, this was a guy who loved film, and as Eddie said, he was our champion, and he's the reason for many of these films that you've seen at these festivals restored. So, Yoram, if you're listening, we love you, and thanks a million.
And the film that you're about to see, which is the back end of this Cyril Enfield double bill, is dedicated to Yoram. We were sadly we were finishing this up when we learned that he had died, and we were able to pull the restoration back just in time to put a dedication to him on the film, because it really, he should have one on every restoration that the Film Noir Foundation has done, quite honestly, because he was that significant to us. Okay, now the film that you are about to see is the complete opposite of the movie that you just saw. Okay, everybody starts someplace in Hollywood, and Cyril Enfield, this is not his first film. He made some Joe Palooka movies at Fox before this, but according to Cy Enfield, this was the first time he directed a movie and felt like it was his film, because he wrote the script, which, as you will no doubt realize, was a radio play before it was a movie. It's talky.
Yeah. This film, if they spent they probably spent about $80,000 at best at this. This is a very low budget, guerrilla filmmaking, but the thing that makes it so cool, I think, are two things. One, you get to see Enfield's sense of humor in all of this. On a lot of the dialogue, a lot of the situations, some of the scenes are really funny. But on the other hand, he always put something of significance and social commentary in his films. When you see the Underworld Story on Sunday, very serious statement on racism made, in 1950, which took a lot of courage. This film has a serious statement about America and the Nazis.
Collaborators, American collaborators with the Nazis.
Yeah, exactly. And it turned out America did bring Nazis back after the fact, like Werner von Braun. And Enfield, there's this serious thread that runs through this, but it's a hell of a lot of fun.
Not that this is a movie to be taken all that seriously.
No,
and now that Alan earlier mentioned Sea Hunt, and it got such a reaction from the audience, from members of the audience, I can say I hope those people stayed, because you're going to see a very young Mrs. Cleaver in this movie. You're going to see Sergeant Schultz from Hogan's Heroes, about 150 pounds lighter.
Johnny Banner.
And Marjorie Lord from Make Room for Daddy is in this movie. So there's a lot of people who went on to do television who were featured in this film. And here's the most astounding thing about this movie, comparing it to the way films are made today. Okay? The plot of this movie today would be an 8-part series on HBO Max.
Yeah.
Okay, and somehow they get all of it into 64 minutes.
Yep.
That in itself is very, very humorous.
Yeah. And so after this, after we wrap this up tomorrow, we start again at 2 p.m. with probably the most perverse film in the 1940s and 50s, The Prowler. And Eddie will be signing his new Dark City book during and after that. So I encourage all of you to come out. And Noir City is on a roll. And we'd like to thank you for coming tonight. You've made it a special evening. Thank you so much.
Thanks a million. Enjoy the Argyle Secrets. And thank you, Yoram Kahana.